quick note on this episode. This episode actually begins where the last episode ended because we recorded it all at the same time, but we had two completely different topics, so I decided to go ahead and split that up into two separate episodes. So you'll notice this one begins with us discussing lizard people and conspiracy theories, but we quickly change subjects and talk about some other theories. Enjoy. In this episode of the Discourse of Human Events, we discuss a topic too complicated for my little monkey brain. We try to determine if you can ever know something is 100% certain, and all I know is I am 100% certain my brain hurts from identifying the definition of identities, and determining if identities could be non-existent in a place we cannot identify, due to the only identity definition we can imagine exists in a world where identities are determined 100% certain. And I've determined I'm 100% certain I have no idea what I just said about identities.
Everything's okay, I'm just trying to act my age. Yeah, I wanna know where the hell the days go. Yeah, I wanna know where the hell the days go. I wanna look and feel years younger, baby. I wanna look and feel years.
United, 6 letters. States, 6 letters. Obviously run by lizard people.
Lizard, 6 letters. It all makes sense.
Conspiracy theorem.
Theory.
Wait, what is the
6
difference between
letters?
theorem and theory? Is theorem just... What is theorem?
Like a mathematical theorem? Like,
Yeah. Because in mathematical, you just
It's
say
just a
like
theory for
theorem.
mathematics?
I don't know.
I don't
I just
actually
read
know
it
why you
on the
say
paper.
theorem
It
in
always
math
says theorem.
rather than theory and...
And you prove.
No, wait. Theorem would be 100% certain.
Yeah, it's all
You
has
prove
to
it
be.
to be 100% certain.
Yeah, you prove a theorem.
Yes. But the point is, it's 100% certain. In science, nothing could ever be 100% certain. You can do a million
Okay, fine,
experiments,
fine,
and it's
fine.
not 100%.
Yeah. It's
Can't
something like that.
technically nothing be 100% certain?
No. In math, it's all 100% certain.
Because you prove. You have to follow a rigorous proof.
Well, it's just by definition.
Oh,
Like,
that's just
whatever you prove it follows from definitions.
No.
So...
It's conspiracy theory because we just proved it.
So the most easy thing I can think
With
of is
letters.
A is equal to B, B is equal to C. So by definition, A must equal C, right?
Yeah.
If A is equal to B and B is equal to C, A must equal C because that's identity. Things are.
But that
equal to
can't
themselves.
be 100% certain because you don't know about other parallel universes where that might not be true.
There's
A
no
is equal to B and B
No.
is equal to C. It does not matter what universe you're in. A is equal to C.
Exactly. You define.
But you're
operation
assuming
equal.
that you understand the logic of a whole nother universe where logic can be completely different.
It has nothing to do.
You say equal means it's the same thing. So A equals B and B is equal to C is the same as A is equal to say. A is equal to C is the same thing as saying A is equal to A is equal to A. Or the same thing as A. There's no possibility of any other thing.
Unless
B.
in a parallel universe you can't even say that term because it can't ever happen.
No. Existence
No.
is existence.
It's
To
the
you?
assumption is that you already
You haven't been high
define
enough.
what means. So
Yeah.
you prove that. So hence it's a theorem.
But I'm saying
Okay.
you can't know every possible outcome
I
of every
agree with
possible universe, so
But I
you
don't
can't
know
say.
how high you can get where you can reject the identity. That
No,
a
it's-
thing is equal to itself.
No, you can't reject it because it's built upon the assumption that you assume the equal operation exists, right? I mean, in other
No,
universe,
no.
in his words, it may not exist. Then, hence, if the assumption doesn't establish,
Equals not
then
an
you cannot have
operation.
it.
You can go before an operation. A thing is itself. Like, it can't be something else.
But, like, let's say in the quantum universe, so if
Okay. In
if
quantum
a pen
universe,
is...
it doesn't matter. A thing is
It
itself.
doesn't matter.
No, if it can... I'm just saying, it can be in two different places at once. So what if in another universe, a cup can also be a pen at the same time? So you say a cup equals a pen, therefore it's something else.
But it's not that. It's
But
a cup is equal to
but
a
it's
cup,
a-
which is a cup. Or a cup is a pen,
But
and it's a cup still.
in this universe, it could change at any point in time, so you can't really say this is this is this.
It's not about time, though. It's just identity itself. A thing is the thing. You're just restating the same thing.
But we're saying in a universe where things aren't always the thing that they are, you're saying.
I know, but I can't possibly imagine. It is beyond the realm of imagination.
That's
where
my
a thing
point.
is
That is
not
my
equal
exact
to
point.
itself.
You're
Where-
you're using the logic of your imagination because you
Where-
can't go beyond your imagination.
Okay, but if you could explain to me
I can't because I can't go beyond my imagination.
5 is not 5.
I don't know. In some kind of odd fucking universe, 5 could equal 3. I don't know.
Or existence is non-existence, or...
No, think about it. If 5
Exactly.
equals to 3, 3 equals 2, that means 5 equal to 2.
Mm-hmm. What?
That also proves. You're proving a relation.
But what
is
you're
5.
doing
Start with that
is
one.
using this universe and your logic
thing is
and your
itself.
imagination to describe other universes which you don't know exist.
Oh, okay, but identity is very fundamental to basically everything. If that
That
was
we
the
know
whole,
of.
then
Wait,
that's
that
just
we know
nonsense.
of.
Pure nonsense. It doesn't make any sense.
I
at
don't
all.
disagree that it's pure
Beyond
nonsense.
comprehension.
I'm
If you
just
don't
saying.
accept this is like the very first thing in math. A thing is itself.
Am I saying that this is 100% true in our universe? Yes. But you're saying it's 100% true no matter where you're at. I'm saying I don't know enough about every universe that's ever existed to know if that's true.
Okay, but to think that there are other universes that have rules and laws,
That are different.
okay, but the very concept requires that you think a universe is a universe, which is A is equal to A, which is
Well,
identity.
no, not actually, because I don't really know what an alternate universe would be. I don't know what a universe
so if a universe
technically
isn't
is.
a universe, then a universe is what? Universe. Okay, now how do you parse that statement? Oh, that statement doesn't make any sense to you.
Our language might not be built for that.
Okay,
for
but
this.
still the statement breaks down, and basically you're talking nonsense. It
Yes.
doesn't make any sense to anyone.
Absolutely.
You might as well be farting into this microphone, and it makes just as much fucking sense.
But just like it didn't make
Okay.
sense in it
I'm
didn't
not
make
saying
sense in
there's
quantum
things we don't
mechanics.
understand out there.
It's
But
not
identity is
a
really
theorem.
fundamental.
It's an axiom. A equal to A is axiom.
But-
Axiom means no proof needed.
Wouldn't you say location was also fundamental until quantum mechanics? Where something could be in two places
Not-
at the same time until
Not
you measure
before
it?
Identity. Identity
No,
is
that-
even before location.
The axiom is a foundation of all the
Yes.
mathematical.
You can't start with anywhere if you don't have identity.
And I'm saying there could be a universe where
A
you
equal
don't.
to A, a number is equal to self is reflective axiom.
I'm saying I can't conceptualize it.
I'm saying I can't either. I'm just saying.
I'm saying even without identity, there's no such thing as a universe. It doesn't make any sense.
But that's because you can't comprehend it.
See?
I can't comprehend it. Nobody could.
I understand what an
But it
axiom
doesn't mean it
is.
doesn't exist.
It's assumed. So no proof need to be.
I know. I'm saying no matter what, if you don't have identity, you have nothing. Identity is almost the very fundamental one that you need
I'm
to
not
start
arguing
with.
with you.
I know.
Well, what makes that? What do you mean by identity? So you're just saying
A equals
what
A.
something is.
Yeah.
Is that your definition of
It's-
identity?
So I have a fish, but if
What?
it's a fish, but then it's not a fish, you know, it's hard to say what it's not because it's so fundamental that it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
You just assume it's to be true.
It's a thing that is itself.
So
Mathematics.
I mean, like I said, I don't have the
how we
language
understand
to
this world.
describe what I'm thinking, but I don't see why an identity couldn't be ever evolving and ever changing, so therefore you couldn't say it has an identity.
We're talking, like, no changing a thing at any, just a snapshot in time. Let's ignore time here.
Mm-hmm.
A thing
How can you ignore
is
time,
itself.
though?
How about existence?
time or space?
Is equal to existence, or time. Time itself.
Mm-hmm.
Time is time, right? It's not non-time. Is time not time?
You're trying to prove an axiom. It just hurts my brain. I don't want to listen.
I'm trying to
I don't wanna
explain to
listen.
it
I love it.
how it's
First off,
just
I tried to
nonsense
prove
to
an
be
axiom.
time is not time, or that.
But what is time then? What are we saying time is?
Doesn't even matter what it is. But what it is what it is, right? It's not what it not is.
No, I'm just saying what
Something means.
I'm saying. An ever-changing, ever-evolving, whatever you want to call it, because you can't call it a thing because it doesn't have an identity. You can't snapshot it in time because there is no time.
I believe that thing
okay.
is not called identity.
Just like, okay, what about before the Big Bang?
Before the Big Bang. Okay.
Where there was literally nothing.
There, but the time before the Big Bang is the time before the Big Bang. Now that might not actually.
But that's not really an identity, now is it? That's nothingness. Is nothingness an identity? There's no time, there's no space, there's no matter,
Yes.
there's no identity.
Nothingness might be equal to the time before the Big Bang, and that's a big question. Is the time
I just
before
gave
the
you an
Big
example
Bang?
of something that could exist without an identity, though, now didn't I?
No, that's an identity. We
How's
just
that
don't
an
know what it
identity?
is.
If it's nothingness, how can nothingness have an identity?
Nothingness is the same thing as nothingness.
That makes no sense.
That makes perfect sense. It's just restating the exact same thing. A equals A. That's identity. A thing is the same thing that you just said.
But you're saying a thing. But this isn't a thing. So a thing can't really be equal
Non-things
to
are the
a
same
non-thing.
thing as a non-thing. Non-existence is the same thing as non-existence?
Yeah, see, how can you say that? That doesn't really make any sense.
So your non-existing
Is equal to
fifth-
somebody
our
else non-existent?
fifth
That makes no
brother
sense.
Is the same exact thing as our non-existing sixth brother.
No, you are.
But that doesn't make any sense, now does
Non-existing
it?
brother is equal to non-existing.
Just say our non-existing fifth brother is
Yeah.
equal to our non-existent
She's
sixth
got
brother.
a point.
Doesn't make any
She's
sense.
got a point. The idea itself of a non-existing fifth brother is the same thing as a non-existing fifth brother. The idea.
No, it's
idea
not.
Of
Because one
that.
would be the fifth and one would be the sixth.
No. We're saying the fifth is equal to the fifth. That's identity. When you say it's equal to the sixth, that's not identity because it's a different idea. That's a whole different idea. That's an idea of number 6,
So you're saying...
which isn't the same as the fifth. The idea of the fifth is the same as the idea of the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I have to do it.
But that's an idea. That's the only reason that works. You're saying this idea is equal
No,
to this idea.
That's the idea of identity, is they're all the exact same thing. The fifth is the same as the fifth. The sixth is the same as the sixth. But the fifth isn't the same as the sixth.
I don't know. I don't know how nothingness can equal itself.
Nothingness is nothingness. Would you agree?
Yes? I don't know.
You agreed.
I don't understand.
Identity.
It's so hard to understand nothingness to really comprehend that statement.
Okay. Let me try to rephrase identity in another way. The law. Okay. Whatever you.
I identify as 37 different gender roles, sir, so I understand identity.
I got you. But whatever you can identify, okay, you assign a name. So, okay, think of anything in the world.
A monkey.
Okay. Now, that name points points to that idea, okay?
Ooh, talking about pointers.
Okay.
Okay, but you're pointing... Right here's the problem. You're pointing to an idea. You're pointing to something.
Okay, that's okay. That's fine.
I'm pointing to nothing.
Okay, you can point to nothing.
And you're saying my pointing to nothing is equal to my pointing to nothing.
Yeah, that name. No. Just the name that you assigned is pointing to nothing.
I think your logic's falling apart because logic can't exist in nothingness.
I think it can kind of exist. No, it exists in your head, I guess, but...
Yeah, I think I just proved my point. You can't have logic, you can't have matter. Without matter or without space or without time, you can't have logic. Therefore, you can't... But you can't because there is no matter, there is no logic. Who's assigning this name? Nobody, because nothing exists.
Okay, but if you can assign a name, then identity...
I can't assign a name to it because there's nothing.
But there is something to the person assigning the name.
Because I exist, and I'm able to do that. But if there was nothingness, there would be no matter, there would be no time, there would be no space. Nothing would exist, so therefore logic would not exist, am I correct? If nothing exists, does logic exist?
If nothing exists, does logic exist? You know what? Let's burn this fucker down and see.
Boom, headshot. You can't answer that question, can you?
It's hard to... So, like absurdism. Like, it's basically where it all breaks down at some point. Like, if there's nothingness...
Yeah, how could you have logic? How could you have any laws or theorems or your axioms?
But if you
can't.
just accept that there is existence, and it's a pretty easy thing to accept.
But
because what
scientists agree that there was a time when there was no existence.
No, they don't agree.
Okay, there's some scientists who do say there was no existence at some point in time.
They usually say that's nonsense. That it just doesn't make any sense, and you can't really talk about it.
I'm talking about it right now. And
not coherently, because I've been trying to understand you.
Well, because I'm not a fucking scientist.
Difficult.
But there are scientists that do say, before the Big Bang, and this was even in Cosmos, I'm pretty sure, that there was nothingness.
No.
You
That's
can't...
not exactly what they say. So essentially, when you come to the mathematical problem of, like, if you try to rewind the math, if you basically divide by 0, and what is dividing by 0? It's basically undefined. They say it doesn't make sense. It's the same thing as dividing by 0. It's undefined.
But could it not
wait.
Could it not make sense because if you are in nothingness, there is no logic, therefore you can't really make sense in a non-logical... You can't really say universe because it's not a universe, it's nothingness.
Sure, but you're still talking nonsense. It doesn't...
Okay.
Well, that's because nothingness is nonsense. There's nowhere else in the world where there's nothingness.
Let me try to explain.
If you buy my tonic, it'll heal all your cancer.
Let me try to...
But we're literally talking about something that scientists... There are scientists that do agree there was nothing before the Big Bang.
Let's let Chloe weigh in.
Go ahead.
Mathematics is people's using a certain of rules trying to understand what's going on, right? So
correct.
One of the assumptions they established for this language described the world is axioms. And then the very idea of A is equal to A is one of the assumptions. So, like you said, there are some areas where the mathematical rules may not apply if, the non-existent rules...
I think you just agreed with me, is what you're saying.
So, that situation might exist. The mathematics doesn't work. The foundation breaks. The language breaks.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I've been saying this whole time, just incoherently.
Well, I don't think I've been entirely disagreeing, because I've been saying nonsense. And when I say nonsense, it means it doesn't mean anything. you can't talk about it. It's fucking nonsense.
But you
might
can
as well
talk
fart
about
into the
it.
microphone is exactly what
Why
I
can't you
said.
talk about nothingness? It's just a theoretical idea. Why can't
no,
we
no,
talk
no.
about it?
means you cannot use the
We are
existing
talking about it.
systems of mathematics, physics, chemistry, or existing
Or
science
language.
to describe the situation because all of them establish the foundation
Ev-
on those axioms.
And language, I think, has an underlying axiom that A equals A. It has a lot more underlying axioms, but that is also one of the very fundamental ones.
But this all started with there are possibilities out there where that could make no sense.
Language?
And I came up with
Doesn't
one,
assume A
which
is
means there could be more possibilities that we
Yeah, to
can't
explain
possibly
how this
comprehend in which A equals A doesn't make sense.
I only agree with you on the mathematical part. It's an axiom. On the language part, I don't know, because I'm not linguistics. I don't have any understanding of how the language have the axioms and how their axioms plays out.
I'm not
Well, I
even
think math
saying the
becomes
transitive
before
identity.
language.
I'm saying identity, period.
So anyways, here's what I was thinking about too with the, did you ever read The Short History of Nearly Everything?
Man, we really went in a long tangent with that. Yes.
You
I
know
love
how
it.
to edit
I'll probably
it
separate
out.
this into two separate podcasts. One about this whole fucking thing and one about
don't know.
the
About
Trump stuff.
Pizzagate and eating.
I
Yeah.
think the
Fruity
first part was
Pebbles
a lot
out of
more
it.
fun than this
Yeah.
trying to prove an axiom.
I actually enjoy this just as much, personally.
It was interesting.
So
Well, it's hard
anyway,
to talk about the thing that we say is untalkable about.
yeah, well, I'm disagreeing because we're talking about it. Anyways, he's talking about the Big Bang in this book, and here's the quote that I love because he's talking about the singularity.
Okay.
So he's talking about it has no dimensions at all. It is known as the singularity. And here's what he goes into. In either case, get ready for a really big bang. Naturally, you wish to retire to a safe place to observe the spectacle. Unfortunately, there is nowhere to retire to because outside the singularity, there is nowhere. When the universe begins to expand, it won't be spreading out to fill a larger emptiness. The only space that exists is the space it creates as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It is natural but wrong to visualize the singularity as a kind of pregnant dot hanging in dark, boundless void. But there is no space, no darkness. The singularity has no around it. There is no space for it to occupy, no place for it to be. We can't even ask how long it has been there, whether it has just lately popped into being like a good idea or whether it has been there forever, quietly awaiting the right moment. Time doesn't exist. There is no past for it to emerge from. And so from nothing, our universe begins.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does sound like nonsense.
It does. Okay, we're not able to in any way comprehend the Big Bang beyond it just started.
And so my point is, it could be possible where there's other, call them universes, call them whatever you want to call them. We can't use our language to
There are other
comprehend them.
axiomatic systems that may lead you to believe, may lead you to understand what happened, but we are not able to actually understand them.
That would be the smart way to put it.
Yes.
There are other ways that a universe can be governed by different laws that don't make any logical sense to us in our current universe.
But the way our brain is built, we are not in any way able to comprehend in any very coherent way talk about it.
Exactly.
That would be my claim. And that was what I think I was saying. You gotta really start with A equals A if you want to talk to somebody.
If you want to talk about this universe, yes.
Otherwise...
But it's also why I said you can't say 100% sure that no matter what, A equals A. You can say 100% sure A equals A within this known universe and this known set of rules. Which is kind of an implicit what you're saying, but I was just,
we
for
started
fuck's
from
sake,
Theorem
saying
and Theory, I believe. And I think this still says...
I'm not even high.
Even to have a concept of 100%, even to have that concept, you need to assume A equals A.
Yes, but we're talking
So
about this universe,
in
aren't
this
we?
axiomatic system, there is 100%. And that would mean...
That's why I said it's an implicit,
That's
this
a theorem.
universe, this world, because we can't really talk about the universes and worlds we don't know exist.
Okay, so can we agree to this? In this world, it's possible to have 100% under the axiomatic assumption that A equals A. And in that realm, where the axiomatic assumption leads to 100%, we will label that a theorem.
You know what?
And when it's not 100%, we will label that a theory.
You know, I think I can agree there.
There we go.
It only took us an hour to get there.
An hour, we've arrived.
I think I'm ready
What-
for us.
Woo!
Trying to get at.
I don't even think I could do enough acid to come up with this.
Maybe that should be our next podcast as we drop acid and try to outdo ourselves.
Well, we might have to outdo this one. I've always wanted to try DMT, quite honestly.
DMT. Oh yeah, that's the like your dreaming kind of thing.
Your brain produces it.
Yeah. So you might be trying it already every night.
Yeah, well, that's what some scientists believe. That's what happens when people die, is their brain starts releasing DMT, and so when people say they've had like near-death experiences, and they've seen Jesus or yada yada yada, or the light flashes before them, they think it's a DMT trip. They think,
All right, Zach.
the flood brains.
I will offer to almost kill you so you can have some DMT trips.
I think I'll just like go through the black market.
That might be an easier way. Totally
Well, I just-
easier.
Everyone that I hear on podcasts and stuff that talk about their DMT trips, they talk about how when I don't even know how to describe it because I haven't done it. They talk about seeing these beings that a lot of people actually see like the similar beings in their DMT trips. And so what Joe Rogan talked about is like after he did DMT, he was so confused about why people even cared about religion and God and those beings when you could just do DMT and see these beings that you can actually experience through DMT. So I always thought that would be interesting to try.
Yeah, is it hard to get a hold of?
I don't know. I haven't really even tried. I mean, streetwise apparently. Because I brought it up with people where if they had DMT, I probably wouldn't be able to get some.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where it's just so kind of out there.
Interesting.
It's only like last 20 minutes. It's one of those drugs where you take it in the last 20 minutes and it's like over. But it's like balls to the walls intense.
Well, if you score some and you're in California, let us know.
If there's anywhere where to score it, that's probably California. That's probably where it's at. Well, have you heard of ayahuasca or any of that stuff?
I haven't heard of that at all. I've heard of DMT.
Ayahuasca is like a huge thing in, is it Africa or South America? I think it's South America. It's basically DMT, except they mix it
Chloe's
with...
going to sleep.
Oh, sorry.
That's
She's failing.
Anyways, they mix it with a bunch of like other herbs and stuff, and it basically makes the DMT less intense, but last a lot longer. And a lot of old cultures used to use ayahuasca. Yep.
That's weird. It's weird to know that all these ancient cultures had kind of their own way with drugs.
Yeah. There's like a whole stoned ape theory that thinks that mushrooms is the whole reason. they evolved.
What's it? Terrence McKenna or something?
Yeah.
Is that the guy?
Mm-hmm.
Which is really out there, but...
He's really out there. But
Who knows if A doesn't equal A? Probably. Because, wait, no, ape's only 3 letters. I don't believe.
Lizard people. Alright, that's probably a good time to end anyways.